I'm Lieutenant Amelia Reyes Hale, 27 years old, and I built my career from enlisted airman to officer the hard way, through merit, not favors. For years, I wired money home, fixed every problem my family created, and kept believing that loyalty would eventually mean love. But on my wedding morning, my mother texted, "We're not coming. We have better things to do." That was the moment I stopped being their safety net, and my Navy fiancé made 2 quiet phone calls that changed everything. Have you ever been abandoned or betrayed by the people who were supposed to show up for you? Tell me your story in the comments. You're not alone. Before I explain what happened next, let me know where you're watching from, and if you've ever had to set a boundary that shocked everyone, hit that like button and subscribe, because what happened after those 2 calls still surprises me today. I grew up in a small coastal town where family meant obedience, not loyalty. My father was ex-military, Army, never made it past Staff Sergeant. E6. He wore that rank like a scar, reminded us constantly that he could have been an officer if life hadn't gotten in the way. My mother nodded along, kept the house clean, kept her opinions cleaner. My brother Dylan learned early that charm could substitute for effort. I enlisted at 18. Air Force Security Forces. I didn't do it to prove anything to them. I did it because I needed structure, needed a place where merit actually mattered. Basic training at Lackland wasn't hard for me. I'd been following orders my whole life. The difference was these orders made sense. By 21, I'd made senior airman. E4. Fast for most, but I worked like every evaluation was my last chance. The money started going home almost immediately. My mother needed dental surgery, $2,000 I wired from my first deployment savings. My brother's rent came up short 3 months in a row. My father's truck business, the one he swore would finally prove everyone wrong, collapsed under bad loans and worse decisions. I covered what I could. They never said thank you. They said, family helps family, and somehow that meant the help only flowed one direction. I made Staff Sergeant at 24. E5. My father's response came through my mother. She thinks a few stripes make her better than us. I stopped calling as often after that. Stopped expecting anything that felt like pride. Discipline and competence replaced approval as my fuel. I got good at my job, really good. Force protection, base security, tactical response. I knew how to read a threat assessment, how to clear a building, how to keep my people alive. That counted for something. The joint training op at Pensacola happened when I was 26. Navy and Air Force running integrated security protocols. I'd done a dozen of these by then, different faces, same procedures. Except this time, the Navy sent Captain Jonathan Hale. 06. A commanding officer who walked into the briefing room and every conversation just stopped. Not because he demanded it. Because his presence carried weight that didn't need announcement. He was 39, though I didn't know that until later. What I knew was that he listened when people talked. Actually listened. During the tabletop exercise, I challenged one of his team's tactical approaches, politely, professionally, but I challenged it. Half the room tensed. He looked at me for 3 seconds that felt like 30, then nodded. "You're right. Let's adjust." After the session, he asked my name, my unit, how long I'd been in. Simple questions. I gave simple answers. We crossed paths 4 more times that week. Once at the Chow Hall, where he asked if I'd read the new DoD security protocols. Twice at the shooting range, where he didn't try to outshoot me, just observed and offered one technical correction that immediately tightened my grouping. The last time was at the O Club. I was there as someone's +1. He was there for a change of command reception. He found me near the bar. "You're wasted in your current position," he said. No preamble. I almost laughed. "I'm doing fine, sir." Fine isn't the standard. He handed me his card. If you ever consider commissioning, I know people who process waivers fast. I kept the card. Didn't call for 2 months. When I finally did, he remembered everything about our conversation. Every detail. We started talking, professionally at first, then personally. He told me about his daughter from his first marriage, about the cost of command, about what it meant to lead people who trusted you with their lives. I told him about growing up in a house where success was treated like betrayal. 6 months later, he proposed. Simple, direct. We were walking along the bay at sunset, and he stopped, turned to me, and said, "I want to build something permanent with you. Interested?" I said yes before I'd fully processed the question. My family's reaction was cold from the start. My mother's first response, "That's fast, don't you think?" My brother made jokes about me finally trapping a paycheck. My father said nothing at all, which was somehow worse. I told myself it was adjustment, that they'd come around. Jonathan knew better. "People show their loyalties when it costs them something," he said one night. "Right now, supporting you costs them nothing. Let's see what happens when it does." I didn't want to believe him. The wedding planning became a test I hadn't signed up for. My mother declined to help with invitations, said she was too busy. My brother skipped the engagement party, claimed he had to work. My father missed the rehearsal dinner without explanation. Jonathan sent formal invitations through official Navy channels, not because he was showing off, but because that's how things were done in his world. My family called it arrogance. Called him arrogant. I made excuses for them. Stress. Distance. Jealousy, maybe. Jonathan didn't argue with me, but I saw the way he watched them. The way he cataloged every slight, every absence. 2 weeks before the wedding, my father posted something on social media about kids who forget where they came from. I saw it because 3 people sent me screenshots. I didn't respond. Jonathan read it over my shoulder and said, "Noted," in that quiet voice that meant he was filing information away. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. Jonathan found me at 0300 hours, staring at my phone. "You're worrying about tomorrow," he said. Not a question. I nodded. He sat down next to me. "Whatever happens, you'll handle it." "You always do." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that my family would show up, that blood would mean something when it mattered. He kissed my forehead and went back to bed. I stayed up until dawn, watching my phone like it might deliver the reassurance I needed. It stayed silent. That should have told me everything. The morning light came harsh through the hotel windows. 0630. The wedding was at 1400 hours. 7.5 hours to transform into a bride, to pretend that everything was fine, that my family's silence wasn't a countdown to disaster. My maid of honor, Sarah, a fellow Security Forces NCO, showed up at 0700 with coffee and pastries. "Big day," she said, "too bright." I managed to smile. Jonathan had stayed in separate quarters the night before. Tradition. He texted at 0745, "Morning. How are you holding up?" I replied, "Good." Excited. He sent back a single word, "Liar." I almost laughed. Almost. The makeup artist arrived at 0800. Hairstylist at 0830. Sarah kept up cheerful commentary about the weather, the venue, how beautiful everything would look. I half listened, checking my phone every few minutes. Nothing from my mother. Nothing from my father. Nothing from Dylan. At 0915, I cracked. Called my mother. Straight to voicemail. Called my father. Same. Called Dylan. He answered on the 4th ring, voice thick with sleep. "What? Are you guys on the way?" "On the way where?" "Dylan. The wedding. It's today." Silence. Then, "Oh. Yeah. I don't know, you'd have to ask Mom." I called Mom. "She's not answering. She's probably busy." He yawned. "Look, I gotta go." "Dylan," he hung up. I stared at the phone. Sarah noticed. "Everything okay?" "Fine," I said. "Everything's fine." At 0945, my mother texted. Just one line, "We're not coming. We have better things to do." I read it 3 times. 4. The words didn't change. Sarah saw my face. What happened? I couldn't answer. Couldn't form words. I handed her the phone. She read it, and her expression went from confused to furious in under a second. "Are you kidding me? Today? They're doing this today." I still couldn't speak. The makeup artist asked if I was okay. The hairstylist offered water. Sarah started pacing, phone in hand. "I'm calling them. I'm calling them right now and don't." My voice came out flat. "It won't matter. You can't just please." I looked at her. "Just don't." Jonathan arrived at 1000 hours. He wasn't supposed to be there. Bad luck, tradition, all of that, But Sarah had texted him, and he'd come anyway. He walked in wearing his service dress blues, cover under his arm, and the room went quiet. He looked at me. "You okay?" I tried to answer. Tried to say something convincing. Instead, I just held out my phone. He took it, read the message, and his expression didn't change. Didn't flicker. He simply set the phone down on the counter and pulled out his own. Made 2 calls. Both under 30 seconds each. Calm, measured conversations I couldn't quite hear. When he finished, he looked at me. "It's handled." "What does that mean?" "It means you're getting married today, and everyone who should be there will be there. Jonathan, trust me." He said it simply, like trust was easy. Like the world bent to his will because he asked politely. He kissed my cheek, told Sarah to take care of me, and left. I stood there in half-finished makeup and a robe, trying to understand what had just happened. Sarah squeezed my shoulder. "I don't know what he did, but I've seen that look before. Your family's going to show up." "You don't know that." "Yeah," she said. "I really do." The next 3 hours passed in a blur. Makeup completed. Hair finished. Dress on. Sarah kept checking her phone, kept glancing at me like she expected me to shatter. I felt numb. Disconnected. Like I was watching someone else get ready for someone else's wedding. At 1300 hours, we loaded into the car for the short drive to the chapel. Naval Air Station Chapel, white and simple and beautiful. I stared out the window and tried not to think about empty chairs. We arrived at 13:15. Guests were already gathering. Jonathan's Navy colleagues in dress uniforms. My Air Force friends. People who actually showed up. I walked into the bride's ready room and Sarah's phone buzzed. She checked it, and her eyes went wide. "Holy shit." "What?" "There's a convoy outside." "A what?" "A military convoy. Black SUVs. Base credentials." She showed me her phone, a text from one of the groomsmen with a photo attached. 3 black SUVs parked in formation outside the chapel. Official vehicles. I recognized the markings. My stomach dropped. "What did he do?" Sarah shook her head. "I don't know, but your family just pulled up behind them." I moved to the window. Looked out. There was my father's truck, sandwiched between 2 official vehicles. My parents climbed out first, my mother in a dress I'd never seen, my father in an ill-fitting suit. They looked pale. Confused. Dylan emerged last, glancing around like he expected to be arrested. Behind them, 2 men in service dress stepped out of the lead SUV. Not MPs, intelligence, maybe. Or legal affairs. They didn't approach my family, didn't say anything. They just stood there. Present. Watching. My phone lit up. 27 missed calls. All from my mother. All in the last 45 minutes. I didn't listen to the voicemails. Didn't need to. Whatever Jonathan had done, whatever leverage he'd applied, it had worked. Sarah looked at me. "You want to talk to them?" "No." "You sure?" "They came because they had to. That's enough." The ceremony coordinator knocked on the door. 15 minutes. I nodded. Sarah helped me with my veil. My hands were steady now. Steadier than they'd been all morning. Whatever fear I'd felt had burned away, replaced by something colder. Something clearer. My family had shown their hand. Jonathan had called their bluff. And now I was going to walk down that aisle and marry the only person who'd ever actually protected me. At 13:45, the music started. Sarah opened the door. I took a breath, lifted my chin, and stepped into the hallway. My father was waiting there. Tradition said he'd walk me down the aisle. He looked at me, opened his mouth to speak. I held up one hand. "Don't." He closed his mouth. We walked in silence. The chapel doors opened. Everyone stood. I saw Jonathan at the altar, tall and composed and certain. I saw my mother in the 3rd row, dabbing at tears that didn't look real. I saw Dylan staring at his phone. And I saw Commander Park, Jonathan's executive officer, standing near the back with an expression that looked almost like satisfaction. I reached the altar. My father stepped back without a word. Jonathan took my hands. "You good?" "Yeah," I said. "I'm good." We got married. Simple vows, no dramatics. When the chaplain said, "You may kiss the bride," Jonathan smiled, really smiled, and kissed me like we were the only two people in the room. Maybe we were. Everyone else was just audience. The reception happened in a blur. My mother tried to hug me in the receiving line, pulling me close like nothing had happened. "You look so beautiful, sweetheart." Her voice cracked with manufactured emotion. I stood stiff in her arms, counted to 3, and stepped back. My father shook Jonathan's hand without meeting his eyes. Dylan congratulated us with all the enthusiasm of someone enduring a dental procedure. I smiled for photos. Cut the cake. Did the first dance while Jonathan held me close and whispered, "You're doing great." I nodded against his shoulder, but I felt like I was watching the whole thing from somewhere else. Somewhere above and far away. Sarah caught my eye from across the room and mouthed, "You okay?" I gave her a thumbs up. She didn't look convinced. At 1700 hours, I found Commander Park near the bar. Erin Park, 37, sharp as cut glass, Jonathan's executive officer for the past 2 years. She was nursing a glass of wine and watching the crowd with the detached interest of someone cataloging intelligence. I approached carefully. "Commander." "Mrs. Hale." She smiled. "Congratulations." "Thank you." I paused. "Can I ask you something?" "You can ask." "What did Jonathan do?" "This morning." "The calls." She took a sip of wine, considering. "Let's just say Captain Hale had a few files pulled." "What kind of files?" "The kind that remind people why showing up might be in their best interest." She met my eyes. "Your family had some outstanding business with various agencies." "Tax liens." "A welfare fraud case from 3 years ago that never quite got resolved." "An expired small business license operating under false pretenses." "Nothing criminal enough to prosecute immediately, but enough to make life very complicated very quickly." I felt cold. He blackmailed them. He reminded them of existing obligations. Park's voice stayed level. "There's a difference. Everything he referenced was legitimate. Already on record. He just made sure the right people were aware that these issues needed immediate attention. And then he suggested that demonstrating family solidarity today might reflect well on their character during any subsequent reviews." "That's blackmail. That's leverage." She set down her glass. "Your family decided that attending your wedding was suddenly the most important thing in their day. Nobody forced them. They made a choice. Jonathan just clarified the consequences of their alternatives." I should have felt something. Anger, maybe. Guilt. Instead, I felt nothing. Just a cold, clear understanding that power didn't shout, it signed papers. It made phone calls. It reminded people that their secrets weren't as secret as they thought. Park watched me process this. "You disapprove." "I don't know." "That's honest." She glanced across the room to where Jonathan was talking with some of his officers. "He did it to protect you. That's what he does. That's who he is. You can decide whether you're comfortable with that." I followed her gaze. Jonathan caught my eye and smiled, warm, genuine, the same smile he'd given me at the altar. I smiled back. Park nodded. "For what it's worth, I think you two are well matched. You both understand that sometimes the right choice isn't the clean one." She walked away before I could respond. I stood there, holding my champagne, thinking about files and leverage and the small coastal town where family meant obedience. My mother appeared at my elbow. "Sweetie, can we talk?" "We're talking now." "I mean privately." "No." She blinked. "I just want to explain. You sent me a text on my wedding morning that said you weren't coming. That you had better things to do." I kept my voice level quiet. Nobody around us could hear. "There's nothing to explain." We were upset. "You have to understand. This all happens so fast, and we barely know Jonathan, and you were invited to get to know him. Multiple times. You declined. We're here now. Because you had to be." Her face hardened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I know why you changed your mind. It means I know exactly what convinced you to show up." I took a sip of champagne. "And I'm glad you're here. Really. I wanted you here. But let's not pretend this was about love or family or anything genuine. You came because it was suddenly more convenient than not coming. That's not fair." "Probably not." I looked at her. Really looked at her. Saw the carefully applied makeup covering years of disappointment and bitterness. Saw the dress she'd probably bought yesterday in a panic. Saw a woman who'd spent my entire childhood teaching me that my achievements were threats to her comfort. But it's true. She opened her mouth, closed it, turned and walked away. I watched her go. Felt nothing. Sarah appeared beside me. That looked intense. It was honest. How do you feel? Numb. I finished my champagne. Is that bad? I think it's survival. She linked her arm through mine. Come on. Your husband wants to do the garter thing, and he's being very patient about it. The rest of the reception passed in acceptable ceremony. We left at 2100 hours in a town car headed to the hotel. Jonathan held my hand in the back seat. You've been quiet. I talked to Commander Park. He didn't sound surprised. She told me what you did. The files. The leverage. And I should probably be upset. But you're not. I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I'm not. Does that make me a bad person? It makes you a pragmatist. He squeezed my hand. They had a choice. They chose to hurt you. I gave them a different choice. They chose to show up. Free will all around. That's a convenient interpretation. It's an accurate one. He looked at me. Do you wish I hadn't done it? I considered lying. Considered saying yes, that I wanted to believe my family would have come around on their own, that love would have won eventually. But I was done with comfortable lies. No. I'm glad you did it. I'm glad they were there. And I'm glad they know that there are consequences now. Good. He pulled me closer. Because that's not going to change. Anyone who comes after you, anyone who tries to hurt you, they're going to learn the same lesson. I don't apologize for that. I know. Does it bother you? It should, I said. But honestly, it feels like someone finally has my back. Like someone finally thinks I'm worth protecting. My voice cracked slightly on the last word. Jonathan heard it. He always heard everything. He kissed my temple. You are worth protecting. You've always been worth protecting. Your family just never figured that out. We got to the hotel. Went upstairs. At some point around midnight, lying in the dark with Jonathan asleep beside me, I checked my phone. 17 new messages. All from family. I scrolled through them without opening most. My mother, we need to talk about what you said. My father, I don't appreciate being treated like a criminal at my daughter's wedding. Dylan, what the hell did your husband do? I blocked all 3 numbers. Turned off my phone. Rolled over and went to sleep. In the morning, Jonathan asked if I regretted it. I told him no. He kissed me and said, good. Now let's go have breakfast and start planning the rest of our lives. We did. The honeymoon was 2 weeks at a private beach house in the Outer Banks. No phones except for emergencies. No family. No obligations. Just us and the ocean and the slow realization that I'd married someone who actually saw me. We came back to Jonathan's house in Virginia Beach, our house now, and reality set in fast. He returned to his command. I returned to my unit. Life resumed. Except my family wouldn't let it resume. 3 days after we got back, my father called Jonathan's office directly. Got through to Commander Park. Demanded to know what your CO did to my family. Park, according to Jonathan, had been professionally vague. Suggested he direct questions to his daughter. Reminded him that Captain Hale was a busy man with significant operational responsibilities. My father hung up angry. 4 days later, my mother showed up at the base gate asking for me. The gate guard called my office. I told him I wasn't available. She waited 2 hours before leaving. Sent me an email that night. I'm your mother. You can't just cut me off. I didn't respond. Dylan tried a different approach. Started posting on social media about family members who think they're too good for their roots. Vague enough for deniability, specific enough that everyone knew. I didn't engage. Jonathan saw the posts. Someone on his staff followed Dylan, apparently, and asked if I wanted him to handle it. I said no. This part was mine. 2 weeks after the wedding, I got promoted. Technical Sergeant. E6. Same rank my father had achieved and stalled at. The ceremony was small, my commander, my flight, a few friends. Jonathan took leave to be there. stood in the back in civilian clothes and watched as my new stripes got pinned on. Afterward, Sarah hugged me. Your dad would have been proud. My dad doesn't get to be proud, I said. He gave up that right. She nodded. Understood. We went out for drinks that night, me, Sarah, a few others from the squadron. Jonathan joined us later, blending into the group with the easy confidence of someone who'd commanded sailors, but remembered what it meant to be junior enlisted. Around 2200 hours, my phone rang. Unknown number. I stepped outside to answer. Hello. It's Mom. I almost hung up. Almost. What do you want? I want to know why you're doing this. Why you're punishing us. I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself. From your own family? Yes. I kept my voice flat. From people who told me they had better things to do than watch me get married. From people who only showed up because they were afraid of the consequences. That's not family. That's coercion and resentment dressed up in shared DNA. That's not fair. You keep saying that. It doesn't make it less true. She was quiet for a moment. Your father is very upset. Good. He's talking about. I don't know. He's saying things. About your husband. About his influence. About how none of this would be happening if you hadn't gotten involved with that man. That man is my husband. And he's the only person who's ever consistently protected me. So if Dad has a problem with him, that's Dad's problem. He's your father. Biologically, yes. Functionally, I laughed. It came out harsh. He's a bitter ex-NCO who resents anyone who achieves what he couldn't. Including his daughter. Especially his daughter. That's cruel. It's accurate. I watched headlights pass on the street. Is there anything else? Because I have friends waiting. Dylan's business loan got denied. Did you know that? I heard. He thinks Jonathan had something to do with it. Jonathan has better things to do than sabotage Dylan's terrible financial decisions. But he could have helped. I laughed again. Couldn't help it. Dylan spent years mocking my career, my choices, my life. He showed up at my wedding under duress and spent the reception on his phone. Now he wants help? From the husband he's been trashing online for weeks? That's not how this works. He's your brother. He's a grown man who needs to face his own consequences. I paused. Did you call for any reason other than to guilt me about Dylan's loan? Silence. Then, we miss you. You miss the money. You miss having someone to fix your problems. You miss the version of me that put your needs above my own dignity. I kept my voice level. This needed to be clear. That person is gone. She got married, got promoted, and realized she deserved better. If you want a relationship with the person I am now, you're going to have to earn it. And step one is stopping these calls that pretend nothing happened. What do you want from us? Space. Respect. An acknowledgement that what you did was wrong. I heard music from inside the bar. And honestly, I'm not sure you're capable of any of those things. So maybe the best thing for everyone is just clean distance. For how long? I don't know. Maybe a long time. Maybe forever. I felt surprisingly calm saying it. I'll let you know if that changes. I hung up, turned off my phone, went back inside. Jonathan looked up when I returned, raised an eyebrow in question. I shook my head. He nodded, handed me a beer, and changed the subject to something that made everyone laugh. I sat there surrounded by people who chose to be there, who showed up without leverage or threats, and felt something close to peace. 3 months passed. My family stopped calling, stopped texting. Dylan's social media rants eventually shifted to other targets. My mother's emails dwindled to once every 2 weeks, then once a month, then stopped. My father's anger apparently found other outlets. I felt lighter with each passing week. Like shedding weight I hadn't known I was carrying. Jonathan got orders. New assignment, Joint Operations Command, based in Norfolk. Came with a promotion recommendation, Rear Admiral Lower Half, 07. The board met in December. He was selected in January. Pinning ceremony scheduled for March. He told me over dinner at home, casual as announcing tomorrow's weather. Looks like I'm going to be an admiral. Congratulations. I reached across the table, squeezed his hand. You earned it. We earned it. None of this happens without you keeping me sane. I mostly just exist near you. That's the hard part. He smiled. You'll be a captain's wife now. Admiral's wife soon. There are expectations. Social things. Command functions. It's a different life. I can handle it. I know you can. He studied me. But if you want out, if any of this is too much, we can make different choices. I thought about my family. About the small coastal town. About years of making myself smaller to fit their comfort. No. I want this. I want us. I want the life where I don't apologize for success. Good. He pulled me close. Because I need you next to me. Always have. That night, lying in bed, I made a decision. Called my commander the next morning. Sir, I want to talk about commissioning. He'd been waiting for that call. Said Lieutenant Colonel Kenton Air Force personnel had already flagged me as a strong OTS candidate. Asked if I was serious. I said yes. He said he'd make calls. 6 weeks later, I had orders. Officer Training School, Maxwell Air Force Base. 3 months of training. I'd come out the other side as a second lieutenant. Oh, two, technically, because of my enlisted time. Jonathan was proud. Said I'd make a better officer than most people who'd never been enlisted. Said I already understood what mattered. I called my family. Left a voicemail. I'm commissioning. Thought you should know. Didn't wait for a response. My father called back within an hour. You're becoming an officer? Yes. Long silence. Then, well, that's something. It wasn't pride. Wasn't quite approval. But it was acknowledgement. I'd take it. I start training in May. Do you need anything? The question surprised me. No. I'm good. Okay. Another pause. Congratulations, I guess. Thanks. I hung up before the conversation could become anything else. Officer Training School started the second week of May. 13 weeks of relearning everything I already knew from a different angle. Leadership theory instead of practical application. Strategy instead of tactics. How to be responsible for people without doing their jobs for them. I was older than most of my classmates, more experienced than all of them. The instructors noticed. Some appreciated it. Others seemed to view my enlisted background as something I needed to overcome. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Kent visited during week 7. Air Force Personnel Officer, 43, the one who'd pushed my commissioning package through. He found me after a field training exercise, uniform still dirty, exhausted in the good way that comes from doing something well. Senior Airman Reyes. Or should I say Officer Candidate Reyes? Sir. I saluted. He returned it casually. How's it going? Good, sir. Different. But good. You're top of your class. I didn't know that. I did. Your TC officer sends me updates. He gestured toward a bench. We sat. I want to talk about what happens after you graduate. Assignment. And career planning. You have options most new lieutenants don't have. Your operational experience, your record, your connections. He said the last word carefully. Your husband's position. It opens doors. But it also creates expectations. I know. Do you? He looked at me. You're going to be a lieutenant married to an admiral. People will assume you got where you are because of him. They'll question every assignment, every promotion. You need to be better than everyone else just to be seen as equal. I'm used to that. Being enlisted? Being a woman in security forces. I smiled slightly. The bar's always been higher, sir. I just keep jumping. He nodded. Good. Because I'm recommending you for a personnel position at Joint Base Langley Eustis. It's close to Norfolk, which helps with your husband's location. But it's also high visibility. You'll brief generals. Work joint operations. It's where you start building the career that gets you to 04, 05. If that's what you want. It is. Then don't fuck it up. He stood. You've got something most officers never get, real credibility with enlisted troops. Use it. Lead like you remember what it's like to be on the receiving end of bad leadership. Yes, sir. He left. I sat there for a while, thinking about bars and jumping and how high I'd have to reach to satisfy everyone except myself. Then I went to class and kept working. I graduated OTS in August. Second in my class. Jonathan pinned on my second lieutenant bars himself, in front of everyone. My mother and father came. I hadn't invited them, but someone, probably my commander, had told them when and where. They stood in the back, uncomfortable in civilian clothes, out of place among military families who knew how these things worked. Dylan didn't come. Nobody mentioned it. After the ceremony, my mother hugged me. "We're so proud." It sounded rehearsed. My father shook my hand. "Lieutenant." That was all he said. Just my rank. Maybe that was the only language we had left. I accepted it. We took photos. They left within an hour. Jonathan watched them go. "How do you feel?" "Relieved." "That they came or that they left?" "Both." My first assignment started September 1st. Langley Eustace Personnel Office, working force development programs. It was exactly what Kent had promised: high visibility, lots of briefings, exposure to senior leadership. I worked 14-hour days those first 2 months. Learned systems, protocols, who mattered and who just thought they did. Made mistakes. Fixed them fast. My enlisted background helped. I understood what actually motivated troops versus what the PowerPoint slides said motivated them. Jonathan's admiral ceremony happened in October. I wore my service dress, stood with the other spouses, watched him take command of an entire strike group. Rear Admiral Lower Half Hail. 07. He was 41. Most people didn't make 07 until their late 40s. He'd done it on merit and timing and being exactly the right officer at the right moment. Afterward, at the reception, people kept congratulating me. "You must be so proud." I was. But I was also watching. Learning. Seeing how power moved through rooms, how decisions got made inside conversations, how the real business happened after the formal events ended. A woman approached me near the end, Navy commander, probably mid-40s, sharp eyes. "You're Lieutenant Reyes." "Lieutenant Hale, actually. But I use Reyes professionally." "Smart." "I'm Commander Michaels. I work maritime security policy at the Pentagon." She handed me a card. "I heard about your background. Security forces, enlisted to officer, fast track. That's valuable experience." "Thank you." "I'm serious. We need officers who understand ground-level operations. Most people at your grade have never done the actual work." "You have." She glanced around. "Keep in touch. When you make 03, call me. I might have something interesting." She walked away before I could respond. I looked at the card. Just her name, rank, and a Pentagon office code. Jonathan appeared at my elbow. "Making friends?" "I think I just got recruited." "By Michaels?" "She's good people. Smart. Connected." He took my hand. "This is going to be your life now. People seeing your potential before you do. I don't know if I'm ready for that." "Nobody's ready. You just have to be willing." He kissed my temple. "Come on. Let's get out of here before someone else wants to network." We drove home. The house was quiet. We'd bought it together 6 months ago for bedroom, small yard, close enough to both our commands. Not fancy, but ours. I changed out of my uniform, sat on the couch, and finally let myself exhale. Jonathan joined me, handed me a glass of wine. "Long day. Long year. And it's only October." I laughed. Took a sip. "My dad called yesterday." "Yeah." Said he was proud of me. Actually said the words. How'd that feel? Strange. Like hearing someone speak a language they just learned. I set down the glass. I wanted to believe him. Part of me still wants to believe that he's capable of growth. But mostly I think he just knows his daughter outranks him now and he doesn't know how else to process it. You don't owe him belief. I know. But you want to. I want to believe in the possibility. I leaned against him. Does that make me weak? It makes you human. He wrapped an arm around me. You can hope they change without letting them hurt you again. Those things can coexist. Can they? You'll figure it out. You always do. We sat there in the quiet. My phone buzzed. Dylan, texting for the first time in 6 months, heard about Jonathan's promotion. That's cool, I guess. I stared at the message. Didn't respond. Turned off the phone. Jonathan noticed, but didn't comment. That was something I loved about him. He knew when silence was support. 3 weeks later, my family's social circles started shrinking. Small-town gossip moved fast. People learned about the wedding, about the blackmail that wasn't quite blackmail. My mother's friends stopped calling. My father's veteran buddies got quiet. Dylan found himself suddenly unwelcome at certain establishments, his reputation preceding him in ways that made business harder. I heard about it through secondary sources, old friends from home who'd stayed in touch, who reported back like war correspondents from enemy territory. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt. Just distance. Like watching weather happen to people in another state. Jonathan asked once if I wanted to intervene. I said no. He nodded. Good. They earned this. Does it make me cruel? Letting it happen. It makes you someone who stopped accepting responsibility for other people's choices. He paused. There's a difference between punishment and natural consequences. You're not doing this to them. Their actions are catching up with them. You're just not running interference anymore. I used to always run interference. I know. And they got used to it. Now they're learning what life looks like without your protection. He looked at me. How does that feel? Lighter, I admitted. Is that wrong? No. It's growth. Winter came cold that year. I made first lieutenant in December '02, technically '03 with my time and service adjustments. The promotion was procedural, almost automatic, but it felt significant. Another step away from who I'd been. Jonathan threw a small dinner party at the house. Just close friends, a few colleagues. Commander Park came, brought expensive wine and dry humor. Lieutenant Colonel Kent drove down from Langley, told stories about officer candidates who'd washed out spectacularly. Sarah flew in from her new assignment in Germany, hugged me hard enough to crack ribs. My family wasn't invited. Didn't ask to be. The silence between us had calcified into something permanent and strangely comfortable. Around 2300 hours, after everyone had left, Jonathan and I stood in the kitchen doing dishes. You seemed happy tonight, he said. I was. I am. No regrets? About what? Any of it. The wedding. The distance from your family. The career changes. I thought about it while drying a wine glass. No. No regrets. Is that cold? It's honest. He handed me another glass. You're allowed to be happy without them. You're allowed to build a life that doesn't include people who hurt you. I keep waiting to feel guilty about it. And? Nothing. Just relief. I set down the glass. Does that make me a bad daughter? It makes you a person with boundaries. He dried his hands, pulled me close. They had 26 years to be good parents. They chose otherwise. You don't owe them guilt for protecting yourself. I nodded against his chest. He was right. I knew he was right. But some small part of me, the part that grew up seeking approval I'd never receive, still whispered that I should try harder. Should reach out. Should bridge the gap. I ignored that voice. Had been ignoring it for months. It got quieter each time. In January, Dylan sent an email. Subject line, can we talk? I almost deleted it unread. Almost. Curiosity one. I opened it. Hey, I know things have been weird. I know you're mad. But I need help. My business is failing. I'm about to lose everything. I know you and Jonathan have connections. I know you could help if you wanted to. I'm asking. Please. I'm your brother. I read it twice. Felt nothing. Wrote back, no. Sent it. Blocked his email. Told Jonathan about it over dinner. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, good. That's it? Just good. What else is there? He's asking you to bail him out of consequences he created. You said no. That's the appropriate response. He's family. He's a grown man who's never faced real accountability because you and your parents always cushioned his failures. Jonathan cut into his steak with surgical precision. Helping him now teaches him nothing except that he can continue making terrible choices and someone will fix it. You're doing him a favor by refusing. It doesn't feel like a favor. It's not supposed to. Growth rarely does. I pushed food around my plate. My mother will call. When she finds out I said no, probably, she'll tell me I'm heartless. That family helps family. And you'll remind her that family shows up on wedding days. That family doesn't require blackmail to demonstrate basic decency. He looked at me. Unless you're not ready for that conversation. I'm ready. And I was. Surprisingly, I was. I'm just tired of having to be ready. I know. He reached across the table, took my hand. But this is the last battle. Once they understand you won't be moved, they'll stop trying. It gets easier after this. He was right. My mother called 3 days later. I answered on the third ring. Hello, Mother. Your brother told me you refused to help him. That's correct. How could you? He's family. He's desperate. He's always desperate. His desperation is a feature, not a bug. It's how he's lived his entire adult life, lurching from crisis to crisis, expecting other people to fix what he breaks. That's cruel. It's accurate. I kept my voice level. And I'm done participating in it. Dylan needs to figure out his life without my intervention. That's not cruelty. That's respect for his agency as an adult. You have the means to help. Jonathan has connections. You could save his business with one phone call. I could. I won't. Why not? Because helping him now doesn't help him. It just delays the inevitable. His business model is unsustainable. His financial planning is non-existent. Propping him up now means I'll be propping him up again in 6 months. And again after that. And the whole time, he'll resent me for it. So no, I'm not helping. Silence. Then, when did you become so hard? When I stopped confusing enabling with love. I paused. Is there anything else? Your father is very disappointed. My father has been disappointed in me since I enlisted. His disappointment is baseline noise at this point. We thought you'd changed. After the wedding, after everything. We thought maybe you'd softened. I did change. Just not in the direction you wanted. I looked out the window at the yard, at the life I'd built. I got stronger. I got clearer about what I deserve and what I don't. And I stopped setting myself on fire to keep you warm. That's a terrible thing to say to your mother. It's a terrible thing to have to say. I felt tired suddenly. Look, I don't hate you. I don't hate Dad or Dylan. But I don't trust you. And I'm not going to keep pretending that we have a relationship built on anything other than obligation and guilt. If you want something different, if you want actual connection, you're going to have to do the work. Real work. Not performative apologies or convenient regret when you need something. Actual change. What does that even mean? I don't know. Therapy, maybe? Self-reflection. Taking responsibility for the ways you've hurt me without immediately deflecting or making it about your feelings. Showing up consistently, not just when it's convenient. I exhaled slowly. But honestly, I don't think you're capable of that. I think you want me to forgive and forget and go back to being the daughter who fixes everything. And I can't be her anymore. So that's it? You're just done with us. I'm done with the version of us that only works when I'm smaller than I am. If you want to know the real me, the officer, the wife, the woman who doesn't apologize for success, then we can try. But it has to be on equal terms. No more guilt trips. No more leveraging family obligation. Just two adults trying to have a relationship. That's not how family works. Then I guess we're not family. Not in any way that matters. I said it calmly. Meant it completely. Take care, Mom. I hung up. Turned off my phone. Sat in the silence of my kitchen and felt absolutely nothing. Jonathan came home an hour later, found me still sitting there. You okay? Yeah. I told my mother we're done unless she's willing to actually change. How'd she take it? About as well as expected. Accused me of being hard. Cold. Heartless. Are you? Maybe. Probably. I looked at him. Does it matter? Not even a little. He kissed the top of my head. Proud of you. That night, I slept better than I had in months. No anxiety dreams. No phantom guilt. Just rest. Deep and complete. When I woke up, Jonathan was already gone early brief at the strike group headquarters. He'd left coffee and a note. You're doing great. Love you. I got ready for work. Drove to base. Saluted the gate guard. Walked into my office and started the day. Around 10:00 hours, Commander Michaels called. The Pentagon officer from Jonathan's ceremony. Lieutenant Hale. Do you remember me? Yes, ma'am. Commander Michaels. Maritime Security Policy. Good memory. I'm calling because I have a position opening up. Joint Task Force, working cross-branch security integration. It's an O3 billet, so you'd need to pin on Captain first. But if you're interested, I can hold it for 6 months. I'm interested. Good. It's demanding work. Long hours. High visibility. You'll brief flag officers weekly. Represent Air Force interests in joint planning. Think you can handle it? Yes, ma'am. I thought so. I'll send details this week. Think it over. Talk to your husband, this will affect him too. But between you and me, you'd be perfect for it. She hung up. I sat there, staring at my computer screen, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not relief. Not peace. Anticipation. Excitement. The sense that I was building towards something that mattered. My phone buzzed. Text from Jonathan. Dinner tonight? Somewhere nice. We should celebrate. Celebrate what? You standing your ground. That's worth celebrating. I smiled. Typed back, 1900 hours. You pick the place. He sent a thumbs up. I got back to work. That afternoon, I submitted my package for early promotion to O3. Lieutenant Colonel Kent had told me I was competitive. Time to find out if he was right. Promotion to captain came through in March. 5 months ahead of projected timeline. Lieutenant Colonel Kent called personally. Congratulations, Captain Hale. Board results posted this morning. You were top 5% in your year group. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me. You earned it. Pinning ceremony in 2 weeks. Let me know who you want to pin you. My husband, sir. If that's acceptable. An admiral pinning his wife for O3? The optics are fine. I'll coordinate. He paused. Also, Commander Michaels reached out. Said you're considering the Joint Task Force position. Yes, sir. Good. That's the right move for you. High risk, high reward. You'll either excel or crash hard. Based on your record, I'm betting on excel. I appreciate the confidence, sir. Just don't make me look bad. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, processing. Captain. Oh, 3. 6 years faster than my father's peak rank. I called Jonathan. He answered on the first ring. Hey, what's up? I made captain. Silence. Then, when? Board results posted this morning. Kent just called. That's... His voice caught slightly. That's outstanding. I'm so proud of you. You haven't seen me work. You don't know if I deserve it. I know you. That's enough. I heard shuffling, voices in the background. I'm in a brief. Can I call you back in an hour? Yeah, go. We'll celebrate tonight. Damn right we will. He hung up. I sat at my desk, staring at the promotion list on my screen. My name, Captain Amelia J. Reyes-Hale. Right there in official documentation. I took a screenshot. Sent it to Sarah. She responded immediately. Holy shit. Drinks on you forever now. The pinning ceremony happened on a Friday morning. Small group, my command team, a few friends, Jonathan. He wore his service dress whites, admiral stars gleaming. I wore blues with my new rank pin temporarily. The ceremony was brief. My commander said nice things about my performance. Jonathan removed the first lieutenant bars, pinned on the captain insignia. His hands were steady. Mine shook slightly. He stepped back, saluted. I returned it. Everyone clapped. It was over in 10 minutes. Afterward, Jonathan pulled me aside. How do you feel? Terrified. Excited. Like I'm about to be exposed as a fraud. That's called imposter syndrome. It means you're challenging yourself. He straightened my collar, unnecessary, but affectionate. You belong here. At this rank. In this career. Don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you otherwise. Yes, sir. He smiled. That's Admiral, Captain. Yes, Admiral. We took photos. Grabbed lunch at the O Club. Jonathan left for a 1400 hours brief. I went back to work. Around 1630 hours, my personal email pinged. Unknown sender. Subject line, congratulations. I opened it. Saw your promotion announcement. Good for you. Guess the Air Force really does promote faster than the Army. Your father says hi. He doesn't know I'm emailing. Just wanted you to know we're aware. We're proud, even if we're not great at showing it. Mom, I read it 3 times. Deleted it. Didn't respond. Told Jonathan about it that night. He listened, nodded. Do you want to respond? No. It's just noise. Another attempt to stay relevant in my life without actually changing anything. I sipped wine. She wants credit for pride without having done any of the work that would earn her the right to be proud. Accurate assessment. Am I being too harsh? No. You're being appropriately boundaried. He refilled my glass. She'll try again. In a few months or after your next milestone. She'll always try. The question is whether you let her back in. And if I don't? If I just keep the door closed? Then you keep the door closed. There's no rule that says you have to have a relationship with people who consistently hurt you, even if they're family. Especially if they're family. I nodded. He was right. I knew he was right. But that small voice, the one that still sounded like a kid desperate for approval, whispered that I should try. Should reach out. Should build bridges. I told that voice to shut up. It was getting easier each time. The Joint Task Force position started in May. Pentagon assignment, temporary duty 3 weeks out of every month. I kept my home in Virginia Beach, commuted to D.C., stayed in bachelor officer quarters during the week. It was exhausting. It was exhilarating. I briefed colonels, generals, admirals. Represented Air Force interests in meetings where decisions got made that affected thousands of troops. Made mistakes. Learned fast. Got known as the captain who actually understood ground-level operations because she'd been there. Commander Michaels became a mentor. Taught me how to navigate Pentagon politics, how to build coalitions, how to disagree with flag officers without committing career suicide. You've got something most people don't, she said one afternoon after a particularly brutal planning session. You give a shit about the people implementing these policies, not just the policies themselves. Don't lose that. Yes, ma'am. And stop calling me ma'am in private. It's Aaron. Yes, Ma Aaron. She smiled. You'll get there. 6 months into the assignment, my father had a heart attack. Minor. Survivable. My mother called from the hospital. I was in a brief. Saw 5 missed calls, listened to the voicemail during a break. Your father's in the hospital. Heart attack. He's stable, but we don't know. Can you come? Please. I called back. She answered immediately. Thank God. Can you come? Is he stable? Yes, but then no. I can't leave work for something non-critical. He's your father. He's stable. If that changes, call me. Otherwise, I'll check in tomorrow. I kept my voice level. Is there anything specific the doctors need? Information about his medical history. No, we have all that. But he's asking for you. Tell him I hope he recovers quickly. That's it? That's all you have to say. What else is there? I glanced at the clock. I have to go. I'm in the middle of a brief. Keep me updated on any changes to his condition. I hung up. Went back to the conference room. Finished the brief. That night, alone in my quarters, I sat on the bed and tried to feel something. Guilt. Worry. Fear. Nothing came. Just that same distant observation, like watching weather happen somewhere else. I called Jonathan. My father had a heart attack. Jesus. Is he okay? Stable. Minor. He'll recover. Are you going home? No. Silence. Then, how do you feel about that? Nothing. I feel nothing. Is that wrong? Do you think it's wrong? I don't know. I think I should feel something. But I just don't. He's a man who happens to share my DNA, who's been bitter and resentful for as long as I can remember. I hope he recovers. But I don't feel compelled to drop everything and rush to his side. Then don't. You don't think I'm being cold? I think you're being consistent. He didn't show up for you when it mattered. You're extending the same courtesy. Jonathan paused. But if you change your mind, if you wake up tomorrow and decide you need to be there, I'll support that too. I won't change my mind. Okay. I didn't. My father recovered. Came home after 3 days. My mother sent updates via email. I read them, replied with brief acknowledgements. Didn't visit. Didn't call. 2 weeks later, my father called me directly. First time in almost a year. Hello. It's Dad. Hi. How are you feeling? Better. Doctors say I need to change some things. Diet. Exercise. Stress. He coughed. They say stress is a big factor. I'm glad you're improving. Long silence. You didn't come. When I was in the hospital. You were stable. There wasn't anything I could do. I'm your father. Yes. And you had a minor heart attack that you're recovering from. If it had been serious, if you'd been critical, I would have reconsidered. But it wasn't. So I didn't. I kept my tone neutral. Is there a point to this call? I don't understand when you became so cold. I'm not cold. I'm boundaried. There's a difference. I exhaled. You want me to feel guilty for not dropping everything and rushing to your bedside, for not performing the role of dutiful daughter. But you gave up the right to expect that from me when you treated my success as an insult and my happiness as arrogance. I hope you recover fully. I hope you make the lifestyle changes the doctors recommend. But I'm not going to pretend we have a relationship we don't have just because you had a health scare. You've changed. Yeah, I have. I stopped letting your disappointment define my worth. I glanced at my watch. I have a brief in 10 minutes. Was there anything else? No. I guess not. Take care of yourself, Dad. I hung up. Felt nothing. Went to my brief. That night, Jonathan asked how the call went. I told him. He nodded. You handled it well. Did I? You were honest. Calm. Clear about your boundaries. That's all you can do. He thinks I'm cold. Let him think that. His opinion doesn't define reality. I leaned against him. When does this get easier? It already has. You just don't notice because you're living it. He kissed my forehead. A year ago, that call would have wrecked you. Now you took it in stride and moved on. That's growth. He was right. Again. It was getting easier. Slowly. Incrementally. But definitely easier. A year passed. Then another. The distance between my family and me solidified into permanence. We existed in each other's awareness, but not in each other's lives. My mother sent cards on holidays, generic messages, no personal content. I sent brief thank you texts. My father stopped calling entirely. Dylan disappeared into whatever life he'd built from the ruins of his failed business. I heard occasional updates through old friends still connected to my hometown. Nobody thrived. Nobody collapsed completely. They just existed. I thrived. The Joint Task Force position led to a strategic planning role at Yucum. Jonathan's career continued its upward trajectory, Rear Admiral upper half at 4308, commanding Naval Forces Europe. We lived in Stuttgart for 2 years. I made major at 3104, youngest in my career field. Jonathan pinned on the oak leaves himself, same ceremony format as before. Smaller this time. Just us and a few close colleagues. Felt more meaningful somehow. During the Stuttgart assignment, I got pregnant. Unplanned but not unwelcome. Jonathan took the news with characteristic calm. That's wonderful. How do you feel? Terrified. Excited. Worried about timing. Timing's never perfect. We'll figure it out. He pulled me close. You're going to be an incredible mother. How do you know? Because you've spent your whole life learning exactly what not to do. I laughed. He wasn't wrong. My entire approach to parenting would be opposite of how I'd been raised. Show up. Be present. Celebrate success instead of resenting it. Love without conditions. Seemed simple. Probably wasn't. But I'd try. I called my mother from Stuttgart. 13-hour time difference. She answered at 0600 her time, groggy and confused. Hello. Hi, Mom. It's Amelia. Oh. Hi, sweetie. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. I'm calling to tell you something. I paused. I'm pregnant. Silence. Then, oh. Oh, that's wonderful. When? How far along? 12 weeks. Due in January. That's so exciting. Have you told your father? Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. Not true, but it cost me nothing to say it. I wanted to ask if you'd like to come visit. After the baby's born. You and Dad. For a week, maybe. We'd love that. Absolutely. Oh, your father will be so happy. There are conditions. The warmth in her voice cooled slightly. What kind of conditions? You come as guests. Not as authorities. This is Jonathan's and my home, our family. You're welcome to visit, but you don't get to criticize our choices or offer unsolicited advice. You don't get to make passive-aggressive comments about my career or Jonathan's rank or how we're raising our child. You come to support us or you don't come at all. Long silence. That seems harsh. It's clear. There's a difference. I kept my voice level. I want you to meet your grandchild. I want there to be some kind of relationship. But it has to be on terms that don't hurt me. Can you do that? I can try. Trying isn't enough. Either you can do it or you can't. Another pause. Yes, I can do that. Good. I'll send details once we're back in the States. Jonathan's transferring to Norfolk in October. We'll be settled by the time the baby comes. Okay. Thank you for calling. For telling us. You're welcome. I hung up. Felt cautiously optimistic. Jonathan asked how it went. I told him. He nodded. You think they'll follow through? I don't know. But I set the boundary clearly. If they cross it, they leave. Simple as that. Works for me. Our son was born January 14th at Naval Medical Center, Portsmouth. 8 pounds, healthy, perfect. We named him James Robert Hale. James for Jonathan's father, Robert for mine. An olive branch I wasn't sure my father deserved, but offered anyway. My parents visited 3 weeks later. Flew into Norfolk, stayed at a hotel near base housing. I picked them up at 1100 hours on Saturday. The drive was quiet. My mother tried small talk about the weather, about how the area had changed since they'd last visited. My father stared out the window. At the house, Jonathan greeted them politely, professionally. Shook my father's hand. Hugged my mother briefly. Showed them to the guest room. The baby was asleep in his bassinet. My mother approached slowly, carefully. Oh, he's beautiful. Thank you. Can I hold him? Once he wakes up. She nodded. Sat on the couch. My father stood awkwardly near the door. Nice house. Thanks. We've been here 6 months. Looks good. That was the extent of his commentary. Jonathan excused himself to study, giving us space, but remaining available if needed. My mother filled the silence with questions about the baby. How was he sleeping? Was I nursing? Had we established a routine? I answered patiently. My father eventually sat down, still silent, still uncomfortable. Around 1300 hours, James woke up. I changed him, brought him to the living room. My mother's face lit up. Can I? I handed him over. She held him carefully, naturally. Started that grandparent cooing that transcends awkwardness. My father watched from his chair. He looks like you did, he said quietly. When you were born. Yeah. Same eyes. Same serious expression. He almost smiled. You always looked like you were judging everyone, even as an infant. Some things don't change. He actually laughed. Small, brief, but genuine. My mother looked between us, surprised. The rest of the visit was fine. Not warm, not perfect, but functional. They followed the rules. Didn't criticize. Didn't offer unsolicited advice. Just existed in our space for 4 days, met their grandson, and left without incident. At the airport, my mother hugged me. Thank you for letting us come. You're welcome. He's perfect. You're going to be a wonderful mother. I hope so. My father shook Jonathan's hand. Nodded at me. Take care of them. Always do. They left. Jonathan and I drove home in silence. Finally, he said, that went better than expected. Yeah, it did. I felt strange. Not happy exactly. Relieved, maybe. Think it'll last? Don't know. But you gave them a chance. That's more than they deserved. Maybe. I looked out the window at the Norfolk streets. Or maybe everyone deserves one chance to try again. Just one. And if they blow it? Then that's it. Door closed permanently. I meant it. Knew I meant it. Hoped I wouldn't have to prove it. 6 months passed. My parents visited twice more. Short trips, long weekends. Each time, they followed the rules. Each time, the interactions became slightly less strained. My father held his grandson, told old war stories that were actually kind of interesting. My mother offered help without demands. Dylan never came. Never asked to. I didn't invite him. Some bridges stayed burned. I made lieutenant colonel at 33. Oh, 5. Jonathan, now vice admiral, pinned on the silver oak leaves. The ceremony was larger this time, joint service, multiple flag officers in attendance. My parents came. Sat in the back. Didn't make it about them. Afterward, my father approached. "Congratulations, Colonel." "Thank you. I'm proud of you." He said it simply, clearly. I know I didn't say it enough. Didn't say it when it mattered. But I am. I'm proud. I looked at him. Saw an old man trying to build something from ruins he'd created. Saw my father, finally, seeing me. "Thank you," I said. "That means something." He nodded. Walked away before it could become more than it was. My mother hugged me. "He means it, you know. He's been working on himself. Therapy. The whole thing. That's good. I'm glad. Are we okay? You and me." I considered it honestly. We're better. We're not fixed. I don't know if we'll ever be what we should have been. But we're better. That's something. She nodded. Tears in her eyes. It's enough. For now, it's enough. 5 years after the wedding. I was 34. Lieutenant Colonel Reyes Hale, working strategic policy at the Pentagon. Jonathan was Vice Admiral Hale, 3 stars, Deputy Commander of U.S. Fleet Forces. Our son James was 4, started pre-K, thriving in ways that made me grateful and terrified simultaneously. My parents visited every few months. Relationships remained cordial, boundaried, functional. Dylan and I hadn't spoken in years. I'd made peace with that. One October afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown Virginia number. I almost didn't answer. "Hello. Is this Lieutenant Colonel Amelia Reyes Hale?" "Speaking. This is Officer Martinez with Norfolk PD. I'm calling about your brother, Dylan Reyes." My stomach dropped. What happened? "He was in a car accident this morning. Severe injuries. He's at Centara, Norfolk General, critical condition. You're listed as emergency contact." "I am." "Yes, ma'am. Can you come to the hospital?" I looked at my computer screen. 2 briefings scheduled for this afternoon. Strategic planning session at 1600 hours. I'll be there in 90 minutes. I called Jonathan first. Explained. He said, "Go. I'll handle James' pickup. Do what you need to do." "I don't know what I need to do." "Then go figure it out." I drove to Norfolk. Traffic was light, mind was chaos. Why was I listed as his emergency contact? We hadn't spoken in 5 years. Why me and not our parents? The hospital was busy, chaotic. I found the ICU, gave Dylan's name. A nurse directed me to a waiting room. "The doctor will be with you shortly." I sat. Waited. 40 minutes later, a doctor appeared. "Ms. Reyes Hale?" "Yes. I'm Dr. Chin. I'm treating your brother." She sat down across from me. He was in a severe car accident. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, traumatic brain injury. We've stabilized him, but the next 48 hours are critical. Is he going to make it? We don't know yet. He's strong, relatively young. But the injuries are significant. Can I see him? Briefly. He's sedated, probably won't know you're there. But yes. She led me to his room. Dylan was unrecognizable under bandages and tubes and machines. Pale, broken, barely there. I stood at the foot of his bed, feeling nothing. Then, slowly, something. Not love, exactly. Not forgiveness. Just recognition. This was my brother. Flawed, selfish, irresponsible. But human. Suffering. And alone. I pulled up a chair. Saturday. "Hey, Dylan. It's Amelia. I don't know if you can hear me. But I'm here." I didn't know what else to say. Didn't know if he deserved more than presence. So I just sat there. 5 minutes. 10. A nurse came in, checked monitors, left. I stayed. Around 1800 hours, my parents arrived. My mother saw me, burst into tears. "Oh, thank God you're here." My father looked older than I remembered. Gray, worn, frightened. They'd gotten the same call, driven up from their small coastal town. We sat together in terrible silence. Waiting. Hoping. Not quite praying. Over the next 3 days, I came to the hospital between work obligations. Sometimes my parents were there. Sometimes I was alone. Dylan's condition improved slowly. Moved from critical to serious. Doctors became cautiously optimistic. On day 4, he woke up. Groggy, confused, in pain. The nurse called me. I was in a meeting. Left immediately. When I arrived, he was awake but barely. Eyes half closed, tubes still everywhere. I approached the bed. Dylan. His eyes focused. Recognition flickered. Mia? Nobody had called me that in years. Yeah, it's me. What happened? Car accident. You've been here 4 days. Hurts. I know. The nurses can help with that. I pressed the call button. A nurse appeared, adjusted his medication. Dylan's eyes closed. Opened again. Why are you here? You listed me as emergency contact. Did I? He seemed confused. Don't remember. It's okay. We don't talk. I know. Why'd you come? Because you're my brother. And you were hurt. Simple truth. Nothing more complicated than that. Do you need me to call anyone else? No. Just Mom and Dad. They're here. They've been here every day. He nodded. Drifted off. I sat with him until my mother arrived, then excused myself. Drove back to the Pentagon. Got there at 2100 hours. Worked until midnight catching up on what I'd missed. Jonathan called at 0100. You coming home? Eventually. How is he? Alive. Improving. Still critical, but stable. How are you? I don't know. Honest answer. I thought I'd feel nothing. Or relief, maybe, that I was done with him. But I just feel tired. And a little sad. That's allowed. Is it? Yeah. You can have boundaries and still care when someone gets hurt. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. I'm coming home. I'll be there in an hour. Drive safe. Dylan recovered slowly. 6 weeks in the hospital, then rehab. Physical therapy. Cognitive therapy. The accident had done damage, some permanent, some hopefully temporary. My parents moved him into their house for recovery. I visited once. Brief, awkward. He thanked me for coming to the hospital. I said it was no problem. We didn't discuss the years of silence, the burned bridges, the failures on both sides. Just surface-level pleasantries and careful distance. 3 months after the accident, Dylan called me. First time he'd initiated contact in 6 years. Hey, how are you feeling? Better. Doctors say I'll make a full recovery. Mostly. He paused. I'm calling to say thank you. For showing up. I know we haven't been. I know things have been bad between us. But you came anyway. That meant something. You're welcome. I've been thinking a lot. About everything. About how I treated you, how I treated Jonathan, the wedding, all of it. He took a breath. I was an asshole. I was jealous and small, and I blamed you for things that weren't your fault. I'm sorry. I sat down. Hadn't expected this. Okay. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect us to suddenly be close. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see how shitty I was. And I'm sorry. I appreciate that. I meant it. What are you going to do now? Get better. Figure out my life. Maybe go back to school. Mom and Dad are helping, but I need to stop depending on them. Stop depending on anyone. He laughed weakly. Guess it took a near-death experience to learn basic adulting. Better late than never. Yeah. Silence. Can I call you sometimes? Not often. Just sometimes? Yeah. You can call. Okay. Thanks, Mia. Take care of yourself, Dylan. I hung up. Told Jonathan about it that night. He listened, nodded. How do you feel? Cautiously optimistic. He sounded different. Sincere. People can change. Do you believe that? I believe crisis forces clarity. Whether the clarity sticks, that's the question. He pulled me close. But you don't have to decide anything now. You can just let it develop. See who he becomes. When did you get so wise? I married well. Picked up some good habits. I laughed. He was right. I could let it develop. Keep boundaries. Allow possibility. See what happened. No rush. No pressure. Just patience and careful observation. 6 months later, Dylan enrolled at community college. Started with 2 classes. Lived with our parents, worked part-time, focused on rebuilding. He called me once a month. Brief conversations. Updates on school, on recovery, on life. I listened, offered minimal advice, kept distance but remained present. It was something. My career continued. Got selected for senior developmental education, War College Trek. Jonathan made 4 stars. Admiral Hale. Oh, 10. Second youngest in the Navy. We threw a party. My parents came. Dylan came. First time he'd been around Jonathan since the wedding. He approached Jonathan nervously, extended his hand. Congratulations, sir. You've earned it. Jonathan shook his hand. Thank you. How's school? Good. Hard, but good. Keep at it. Yes, sir. That was the entire interaction. Polite, distant, functional. But not hostile. Not resentful. Just 2 men being civil. I watched from across the room, felt something warm and unexpected. Hope, maybe. That broken things could be rebuilt. Not back to what they were. That was impossible, but into something new. Something functional. That night, after everyone left, Jonathan and I stood in the kitchen. Today was good, he said. Yeah, it was. Your family's trying. Some of them. Some of the time. That's all you can ask for. He handed me a glass of wine. You've built something remarkable. This life. This career. This family. Be proud of that. I am. I think I finally am. Good. He kissed me. Because you should be. That was my line in the sand, and it held. I didn't win by yelling. I won by choosing who gets access to me. If this hit home, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a boundary today. Questions for you. Have you ever had families skip a milestone or show up only when there were consequences? Where's your non-negotiable line, and how did you enforce it? Would you have made those calls or preferred to walk without them? If someone returned after hurting you, what terms would you set? Drop your answers in the comments. I read everything.